All right, we're going to start lesson 1110, graphing functions. Okay? And what they're going to do in this section is they're going to be a lot of different things. Okay? They may start off by having you complete tables. Okay, so I'll draw a table here. Okay. And again, you're back at my hand because we're going to be drawing graphs again. Okay, so we've got a table. They'll have like an input and an output. Okay, we're going to get to the point where they say output is equal to input, and then they'll give you like a formula, plus 4. Okay, and then this will be output, this will be input, okay, and then they'll just have you start putting in numbers, okay. They may give you numbers, so for example, like say they may have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they give you the input. Well, the input, if it's 1 plus 4, the output is 5. Okay, 2, you've done these sort of things before, right? 2 is the input, 2 plus 4, output is 6. Okay, so we're just plugging in the numbers into this formula to get the output. Okay, now what you're going to get used to, or what basically what this is doing is getting you used to creating linear equations or any equations where bottom line the output is going to be your y, your input is going to be your x. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll give you a formula. Y is equal to x plus 2, and they'll say make a table and graph the points to form of this function. Okay, so here's a function. All right, here. Okay, a function is it's got an input and an output, x and y. It's doing something. If I put it in for something for x, I can compute what y is, and then I'm going to draw it out. Okay, so when they say, first of all, make a table. Okay, I've got my function here. X plus 2 is equal to y. So I'm going to make my table. I've got my x and I've got my y. Okay, and a lot of times it'll say, okay, well, use -2, -1, 0. It usually gives you the values, and this is usually a good place to start. It's just, maybe a couple on one side of 0 and a couple on the other. So -2. Okay, so if x is -2, okay, plug in -2. Well, -2 plus 2, what is y going to be? Well, we've learned how to do this in a previous section. -2 plus 2, that's going to be 0, right? Yep. So y is 0. Okay, now we're going to go substitute -1 in there. -1 plus 2, well, what's that going to be? +1, so put a 1 there. Okay, then we're going to do a 0 plus 2. What does that give us? 2. And you're probably starting to see a pattern forming. I mean, the numbers are increasing in a set pattern because basically the pattern is we're adding 2 each time, right? All right, we got 1 plus 2. Okay, well, it's going to be 3. Okay, 2 plus 2, that's going to equal 4. Okay, so right here I have completed the table. Okay, I've taken the function, created a table. Now it wants me to graph this. Okay, and I'm going to do this right here. Okay, so I'm going to draw my coordinate plane, which we just learned about last time. Okay, you can do the So go ahead and label 1, 2, 3. Shouldn't have to go too far on this one. All right. Okay, so I just created my coordinate plane here. Now graph them. So let's look right here. For this right here, what is this? That's basically the ordered pairs or the coordinates that we learned about in a couple sections ago, okay? So this is describing a point, okay? -2 is my x, y is 0, so it just stays on there. All right, I got 1 point right there. Okay, well, here's another set of them. -1 and 1. Okay, here's a point right there. My next point, 0 and 2. Well, 0 is x, 2 is y. Okay, my next one, 1 and 3. 1, 3. And my last one, 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Okay, so I've graphed those points, and what they want you to do is then now they want you to go ahead and then connect them. Okay, what shape did what did I make when I graphed those points? I made a straight line, right? Okay, that means this right here, because when I graph them, and it doesn't matter, I could put any numbers in here, run them through there, and plot them. It's going to be a straight line once I connect all those dots, okay? This is what is called a linear function, meaning that if I were to do all the points, the result is going to be a straight line, okay? Let's do one more. Okay, so let's do, okay, here's my function. Y is equal to x divided by 2 plus 1. Okay, so here's my function. Okay, so the instructions are to create a table and then graph this function. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my table. And usually I just do kind of like a T thing instead of the whole little box thing. Got my X, got my Y. Okay, usually a good default places to start with the X's. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. That way you're kind of getting on both sides of the 0. All right, so started with my just 5 numbers for X just to kind of run them through. It really doesn't matter, just for when you plot it, it's just easier to kind of work around the 0. That's why I always choose a couple points here, a couple points there, and a lot of times they'll tell you to use these 5 points. All right, so let's start running them through. Okay, well, write my function over here. Let's give me some more space to work. Okay, so let's substitute in. Okay, well, I've got -2 over 2 plus 1. Well, -2 over 2, basically, what's -2 divided by a +2? Well, 2 divided by 2 is 1, but since one of those numbers was negative, it's going to be a -1 plus 1. So that -1 plus 1, that's going to be 0. Okay. So the next one, -1, so I'll plug it in this number, -1 over 2 plus 1. Basically, that's -1/2 plus 1. Well, isn't my answer going to be a +1/2? Yep. Okay, basically, remember I've got 2 different numbers. One's a negative, one's a positive. I go ahead and subtract 1 minus 1/2. Okay, well, once I take 1/2 away from 1, that's 1/2. What do I have left? 1/2. Okay, well, remember we use, okay, well, which was the bigger number, 1 or 1/2? Well, 1 is bigger, so my answer is going to be positive. Okay, I hope I didn't lose you on that one. Okay, next one, 0 over 2 plus 1. Well, what's 0 over 2? Well, that's going to be 0, right? 0 plus 1, so that's going to be 1. And the next one, 1 over 2 plus 1. Well, that's 1.5, right? So now we're back in positives. 2 over 2 plus 1. Oh, you can't really see that, can you? Oops. All right, 2 over 2. Well, 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1, so that's 1 plus 1. That's 2. Okay? Basically, all this work over here that I did is just me plugging in these numbers to get my y. Okay? This is my input. I input these numbers. My output was basically the answer to that problem. All right, so now I've got these, so I'm ready to go ahead and graph them. Okay, looking at my numbers, I don't need to go terribly, units of 1 is fine. Okay, so go ahead, take a second and make my coordinate plane. All right, I got my coordinate plane, so I'm going to go ahead and look at my ordered pairs or my coordinates. Okay, so my first point is going to be -2, 0. So I go -2, and that's 0, so that's just on the x-axis. I don't go up or down any. Okay, my next point is going to be -1 and a +1/2. Okay, so I go -1 here. +1/2, well, I've got 1 marked, so it's safe to say that +1/2 is just going to be halfway between the 0, or the x-axis, and the 1. Okay, my next point is going to be 0 and 1. See, these are still ordered pairs, or coordinates. There we go. Next one, 1 and 1/2. That's going to be halfway between the 1 and the 2. My next one's going to be 2 and 2. That's right here. So go ahead and connect them. Oops, didn't do a very good job connecting them. There we go. So I connect them. Okay. What did I make? Okay, I made a straight line. So therefore, this is a linear function. Okay, and you can tell that it's, based on the other one. Okay, that one is kind of a steeper line than this one. Okay, and we'll get into that when we get into 7th grade and 8th grade math. That's what's called the slope of the line. Some lines are steeper, they angle up faster than others, and we'll get into that later. But since I made a straight line, I've got a linear function. So I've made a table to come up with the ordered pairs. Use the ordered pairs then to graph this linear function. Okay? All right, that is what you need for 1110, so good luck with that.